Hi folks, I've got a nice cup of tea here, so it's time to talk about another game. Dead Island. Dead Island is a free-roaming zombie apocalypse type of game with some RPG elements. When playing it, it seems like it's borrowed elements from other games, like its cooperative mode from the Left 4 Dead series, a weapon crafting system which feels like we've seen it before in Dead Rising, and RPG-wise it feels like this game has taken a good long look at Borderlands. The first thing you'll notice when playing Dead Island is that its environments are beautiful, especially in the first part of the game, when you're still in the actual resort. The stark contrast between the gore and gristle of killing the undead and the lush, vibrant island resort feels interesting at first, but the novelty quickly wears off. Later on, the environments become more common for zombie games, such as Destroyed City, Destroyed Sewers, and so on. I don't have all too much to say about the sound design. The rap song Who Do You Voodoo the game uses for its intro is silly and at the same time catchy, but otherwise the music doesn't really manage to stand out. Voice acting is mostly decent, though some voices get really annoying. Gameplay-wise, you're offered a choice of 4 characters, each with their own distinct specialties and attached skill trees. The skill trees are Fury, Combat and Survival. Now, it's quite obvious what different points in the survival tree usually should give you, but Fury and Combat focus more on the character's weapon specialties, with Fury being geared more towards being able to output burst damage, and Combat enables you to put out a more constantly sustained damage. The characters, while seeming fairly bland at first glance, for instance the throwing weapon specialist is a former American football player, the blunt weapon tank person is a burly rapper, and so on, they are all given a reasonably interesting backstory and a good motivation for being on the island. Now, there is a sense of imbalance in the early game, where the majority of the equipment is melee oriented and a large part of it is blunt weapons. Furthermore, weapons degrade when used, becoming entirely useless when they break until they are repaired. There are various weapons in varying degrees of quality, and they can all be upgraded. However, you don't want to lose your extremely good upgraded weapon when you don't know what's around the corner. Therefore, the Duke Nukem kick that's in the game becomes relatively overpowered. After all, it's infinite, it's a steady damage output, and it can keep the undead on their backs. And who wouldn't want that? Now, the last bit of this review I'm going to have to mention the bugs. The game was released in a terrible state, and while there have been some fixes happening, there's still not really a perfect game here. And it's a shame that it was released in the shambles that it was. Now to the conclusion. I'm personally no fan of zombie games, and this one managed to pull my attention with a rather original trailer. Thing is, it doesn't live up to the trailer at all, and given the gameplay, I'd much rather play Borderlands. Sure, this one is graphically more impressive, but that alone doesn't quite pull it for me. If you like this type of game, I'd say to give it a try, otherwise I would stay away until it's in the bargain bin.